Quick podcast, Rant, everybody. This is going to address something that's been in the news lately. It was the recent terrorist bombing or car bombing of the Indian troops up in the Kashmir region of southern Asia, in the Indian continent. And the Indian-Pakistan region is something that we've covered for a long time. And it's interesting because we get a lot of readers from that part of the world, and we're seeing comments from people in India saying, we should go in there and call Pakistan's bluff, and their threat to constantly use nuclear weapons. We should go in and we should go in and destroy their Air Force. The Indian Air Force will go in and do all this damage and no more. And I agree with the sentiment, because if you don't have if you let people get away with stuff, they'll keep trying to get away with it. Of course, our Pakistani readers are like, fuck you, India. We have nuclear weapons. We'll fucking kill you and all that. So the real question here that is not being discussed in the media, especially in the Western media or like the mainstream media in the United States, is something called what we used to call in the war colleges, proportional response. And so I'm gonna tell a story, a theoretical. Think of it like, for the younger listener, a Kobayashi Maru. And this was a Kobayashi Maru unwinnable situation that used to be postulated, say, in the 80s. And it went something like this. So one day, Monday morning, President gets up. He walks into the Oval Office, and he's going through his presidential daily brief. And he, right at the top of the page one, top line one, is a report out of, say, San Francisco, a coastal city. And 3,000 people have died overnight from some kind of strange virus. And another 30,000 have fallen ill. And they're trying to contain this outbreak. And intelligence reports are suspicious that it is a Russian-made biological weapon, a Soviet-made biological weapon, and say like Novichok or one of these things. Like they know it's Russian, but because they just know it is, because it's not something that Habib could get. So the argument is, okay, you're the president. 3,000 people have just died in San Francisco, and it looks like more are going to die. And what are you going to do? It was the Russians, but you can't prove it. You can't prove it on the world stage. You can't prove it on the international stage. Maybe you can't prove it because you don't want to show that you can prove it. For example, maybe you successfully stole some of this Novichok bioweapon that's supposed to be a super secret, and you don't want to get on the world stage and tell people that you stole this, or a lot of questions could be answered or asked, and you don't want to, put the answer to it. So, the argument is, okay, let's do a kinetic response. 3,000 dead, Mr. President. The Abro Kustanov is rounding, coming around, the Finland and Norway, and coming down from the Baltics. And, we have a submarine ready to sink the Abro Kustanov or do some other kind of kinetic response. And, it's an eye for an eye. We should do this, Mr. President. Well, the problem is, if you start doing kinetic attacks on regular military units, you are assuming that the other side sees the thing the way you see it. So, for example, if you start, say, like an air war against, you decide to shoot down a bunch of Russian airplanes, or maybe attack a bunch of SAM sites, the Russians may think, oh, they're just getting us back for the Novichok attack in San Francisco. Or they may think, holy shit, this is the opening stages of the B-2 bombers coming in, and we're about to lose everything, launch all the missiles, or escalate the conflict. Because it's not immediately clear to the other side that your goal is a proportional response. Your goal is a tit for tat. So, now what I'm about to suggest was bandied about in the war colleges because it's not politically correct. Nobody today would admit that this was the policy, and nobody would dare say that this is something that, is even possible today. But the real answer is, Mr. President, we have a virus that's in the basement of Usamrid, and in about a week, 3,000 Russians are going to wake up bleeding to death from their eyeballs. And so that sends the message of a proportional response. Vladimir and the rest of his buddies are like, holy shit, maybe we better knock off this Novichok shit, because the Americans, apparently are ready to play the same game. So I told that story to go back to India and Pakistan. And all these people are hooting and hollering about, let's shoot down the Pakistani Air Force, or let's do this, or let's do that. Now, it was a terrorist attack, a surreptitious attack, and they blew up, killed almost 50-some soldiers in, these vehicles. A proportional response would be somewhere in the deepest, darkest bowels of the Indian military is a plan that say, I don't know, the commanding general of the 99th Army, based in Karachi, is coming out of his building one day with his convoy and his staff, and they get blown up in a car bomb. Or maybe they blow up the whole street with 3 or 4 car bombs. That is a proportional response. It sends a message to Pakistan, knock the bullshit off, keep it under control. I don't care if it's crazy people doing it. I don't care if it's your intelligence service doing it. We're going to hurt you. So that's the story, and maybe the lesson that, our Indian readers may want to take to heart in thinking about dealing with the situation with Pakistan. If you want to stop them from doing some of this crazy stuff, and you want to incentivize the other side to either not do it or keep the crazy jihadis from doing this kind of stuff, maybe you ought to fire up your own, car bomb system and, take out a few of the Pakistani command staff or generals, or maybe you know who the leader of the group is that's behind this, and so maybe you target that dude and his family. But, again, it wasn't the Indian military, because it was a crazy lunatic with a car bomb. Again, not politically correct, but this is the real world. It's called proportional response. And if you don't respond, you're just inviting more of it, a la the polonium attack in England, and then the Novichok attack that came a few years later because Russia could get away with it and the Brits didn't do shit. Or you go and you blow something up in Pakistan on the down low and tell them to knock it off. Anyway, there's the real world answer for you. Not attacking the Pakistani Air Force and not risking escalating the situation with a nuclear exchange or a general war, because nobody wants a general war, and you can't engage in these kinetic activities and guarantee the other side is going to see it the way that you're trying to pull it off. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.